Thandie Newton, welcome to Q.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Oh, we haven't even started yet.
Now we're done.
Woo!
Now we're done. You play, in this film, the life and death of John F. Donovan, you play...
No, the death and life of John F. Donovan.
My mistake.
Now we're done.
You...
Idiot.
Oh my Lord.
I know, rude.
That was a little...
Unkind, mean.
It hurt.
I know, and the thing is, you haven't got the benefit of seeing me on radio, so you could just, now you're thinking this witch, this mean, nasty woman, how could she be so horrible to that handsome man?
We don't see that you're smiling.
On the
yeah,
website,
and also,
on the website, look at the photo. I bet your picture is really huge on the website.
Because we're on the radio, I get to pretend that I'm a handsome man too, which is nice. Oh yes, here I am, this beautiful man here on the radio. And
you are, my love, and they can see it on the website.
Look up Brad Pitt. Has playing a journalist changed the way you approach these sort of interviews?
Not in any way, shape or form, no. I guess partly because she's not being a very good journalist in this film.
You don't think so?
No, because she approaches the subject with a lot of cynicism. And that's the whole point. She's a hard-bitten, real journalist who goes to war-torn countries, who reports back from places where human rights are being, devastated, and suddenly she's, giving a favor to the editor of the newspaper to do this puff piece on an actor who thinks that his childhood letters to, his, the guy who he was, fanboying out over are worthy of her time. She doesn't think it's worthy of her time. And she goes on a journey and realizes that she'd really missed a very special and important story. Obviously, she retrieves it by the end. So I don't play a good journalist. Because it's good journalism is about being curious no matter what, what you're going into.
But the film does pose the question, out loud at one point, how much do we really need to know about artists? How much do we really need to know about the people who make the art they make?
Yeah.
Did making this film give you any consideration on that?
Well, it put us. What I was thrilled about was it was putting a spotlight on an issue which I think we need to be aware of, which is that people's appetite for a celebrity's private life is now it's open season, and it's something which is it's made use of by the media, by magazines, photographers. It's an industry in itself. Yeah. It's this kind of sub-industry that has grown up. Not only are you now entitled to your movie star on screen, but the part two of what you're entitled to is their private life, whether that's through social media, which is obviously something that they can give to you. It's not just about having a fan club. Now it's a whole industry devoted to it. And then on top of that, we have people who don't even have the celebrity bit of, they don't have something that they're famous for, they're just famous. Mm-hmm. That's actually an industry, and I don't need to name names, but it's literally the most famous people in the world. Mm-hmm. It's because fame is now an industry in itself. I mean, it's terrifying. So the film hasn't made me think about it more necessarily, but I'm just really thrilled that it's been created in a story which will allow other people to maybe see how detrimental it is.
I think one of the things I took away from the film is that when fame happens, it results in ultimately a loss of control. How real is that feeling?
Well, if you don't actually have your hands on the steering wheel ever, it's, I don't feel like I don't buy into that side of my perception.
Well, what side?
What people use of how people use their perception of me in order to make money, whether that's people wanting me to sign a photograph, or people talking about me, or people using me when they edit the movie. I give that bit and then I let it go. And I focus more on me in this present moment, me with my family, the bit that, it's not really about, I actually give up control, largely. And I think that that's something which is a healthy way to live life in some ways, because we don't have as much control as we think we have. Just as an idea, I think it's important to be prepared to give up control, because resisting it is where you experience so much unhappiness and pain. But the trouble is, there are a lot of people, and we're looking at, countries that are governed by people that are actually exploiting people giving up their control, are literally exploiting that. But because it's actually a healthier disposition to give up control and allow yourself to just be in the moment, having an experience, as opposed to trying to control everything.
I don't want you to say any names if you're not comfortable doing that, and maybe I don't want you to say any names either, but do you know someone in your career who would resemble John F. Donovan?
Oh, yeah.
Not, of course, aesthetically I'm talking.
Yes, I do. Yeah, very much so. And I know of people, just because I've been privy to conversations and so on, people who have things about themselves that they wouldn't want people to know, and people who keep things, covered up, private, because they want to maintain their careers.
And are tortured by it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know enough. These aren't people that I'm close to.
Of course.
They're not like friends, I guess, because I guess people who are in that position, don't have that many, because it's a very lonely place to be. But then again, I find myself like I'm 45 and I've been an actress for 30 years. I've had a lot of ups and downs, friendships, people I've come to know and then not know. And I'm at this point in my life where I'm like, man, there are I can count the people that I trust and feel safe with in one hand. Really? Yeah. It's like I feel really, truly safe with these people in one hand, but then I also feel safe with everybody if I give up that sense that I have control. Right.
I think so, and I also know that you were very outspoken about the lack of safety that you felt with casting directors, with producers, and this
not
is
producers.
Executive producers.
No.
Casting directors.
Well, a director who exploited me in a casting situation, but also being sexually abused by a director.
So that was, I think I first started reading about that from you in around 2013. What prompted you to start speaking out about those situations?
I started talking about that back in the 90s, actually. Very soon after I started having therapy and realized that I'd been sexually abused. I was just so horrified that something like that had happened. And I just started talking about it because I just thought if I can help anyone else who was naive like I was, and my family was too, because my poor parents had no idea. They were from a small town on the coast of England. Me going off to make a movie was supposed to be a really wonderful thing, not a place where I was going to be preyed on. And it was an awful thing for my family.
And you talk about publicists were trying to get you not to talk about these things.
Well, one publicist told me not to.
What were they afraid of?
About my reputation. And this is back in the days when it really wasn't cool to talk about being the victim of sexual abuse. It's like, it stains you. Yeah. I mean, this isn't an uncommon thing.
Of course not.
I mean, all around the world. I was literally reading about it recently that in, God, I don't want to get this wrong. Come on, in Mauritania, women who have been raped can find themselves imprisoned because they have had sex outside of a legal relationship. So women who've been raped, who were held down and raped, can end up being, prosecuted. It's, our world is definitely not. We don't deal with sexual abuse to such a degree that even legality is not set up to protect people who have been sexually abused. So the need to talk about it is urgent, and not just for women, for men. I mean, but at the same time, I do understand why we don't talk about it, because it's just deplorable. It's awful. The thought that a young person, that anybody's going to be abused, but particularly, a minor, it's just. You don't want it to be true. You want it to go away, of course. And there are those like me who will force the issue and will face the consequences.
And
And there were consequences for me, definitely. Having a publicist, number one, who said it's going to affect your reputation, and she wasn't wrong. I wouldn't get cast. I wouldn't get the same opportunities. Even other actresses wouldn't want to, because they were just going along with the way things are. You know, because it's like almost, I mean, literally one person saying, oh, you just let that happen and then they're okay. Meaning the people that do that. Meaning if you satisfy on that level and just let a little bit happen, then you'll still be able to do your job. Or like, that's nuts. And I don't know why, I just thought that was nuts. And so I would say that's crazy.
So were there times where you thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue doing this, whether your choice or not your choice?
Oh yeah. I mean, what it would do, well, I didn't realize until fairly recently that it had affected my career to such a degree. I just thought that I wasn't, maybe getting the same opportunities.
When did you realize that?
Fairly recently.
Yeah?
Well, because of what's happened and so many stories coming out, right? We are learning that very often, I mean, we know this from Sweet Salma talking about, I think it was Salma Hayek talking about how I know this from a number of people, that because they wouldn't give it up to certain people, they weren't hired.
Yeah.
And they know that. And I've been hearing a lot about those stories. And so I'm putting two and two together, that I wasn't available for any of that. So I wasn't someone who would necessarily be desirable to have, in a project, because, as an actor, you're not only are you available to work in the movie, you're also potentially available to have an affair with, experience groping and, abuse. And I'd already spoken out about how that's not going to fly with me. So it narrowed down my options. But the happy end to the story is that I, as a result, would work with people who didn't want to do that and who weren't about, and it led me to Westworld. And a movie like John F. Donovan. And, the work that I do is with people that have integrity, that actually want to, deal with subjects which are more honest and more important.
And Westworld's a great example because, I mean, I've seen you speak about this in the past, and I've always found it so fascinating, is that, I mean, in Westworld, and just to be candid, it's a television show where you're often nude.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the first season, anyway, yeah.
And I remember seeing an interview with you, you said, even though that is the case, I still feel so powerful.
Oh, I felt more empowered than I've ever felt. And I was stark naked. And the irony is that I'd been in so many situations where I had been maybe partially nude, but I'd been lied to. Yeah. Either the director would say, oh, we're not seeing that in this setup. I mean, literally that happened. And then there I was, you saw everything, Or just being mistreated and being exploited. One producer saying, I didn't want to take my top off for a scene. I thought it was ridiculous. It just didn't make any sense. Like, why would I do it in that scene? And he literally said, kid, Thandie Newton, top off, ratings. Which I thought was fantastic. I was so thrilled that he said it, because it was actually like, oh, yeah, because that is literally what you're thinking. He just, unfortunately, was the kind of person that just couldn't hold a thought. It would come out.
Yeah, he couldn't hide it.
He was just an idiot. Yeah. But I'm glad he was an idiot.
Do you want me to change that? Your hair is blocking the...
Oh, okay.
Your hair is
See,
blocking,
big hair.
Blocking the sorry, continue.
It's like it's punching it.
Yeah, right.
And that's a reality. So I got off that show. They made me... They were very cruel to me about getting off that show. Yeah. But I didn't want to work with them anymore.
So I'll close off this way. This is the first Toronto International Film Festival since Me Too, since the formation of Time's Up. It's been interesting for sure, and the conversations we've been having since then, especially with the history of this particular festival. But I mean, you've been to 1 million festivals. Does it feel different this time around?
Not in that respect. But then I'm... No, it doesn't. It doesn't, but then I'm not, I don't gravitate towards smutty, you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Well, that stuff exists everywhere. And I think that because I've learned so much and I'm more aware of mistreatment, there are certain places I end up going, or There are movies that I'm not going to be part of where that can happen, you know. So it might be happening now. I don't think that anything's going to change quickly. It's always, here's the thing, it's never going away. This appetite for exploitation is never going to go away. We have to talk about it all the time. So I don't really know what you mean, I guess.
Well, so, I mean, let me rephrase, maybe concretely. I mean, you have a daughter who's about to enter who's already entering the film world. I mean, what kind of conversations are you having with her?
We've been having the conversations a long time. I mean, they know that I speak out. I mean, you know, for a little girl to know that her mother was sexually abused, that's pretty hardcore, you know. But they're cool. I mean, they're just like, it's, because for me, I'm not a victim. It's a reality. Yeah. So it's something, I mean, they're furious. My 13-year-old's like, I want to go. But I'm not a victim at the same time. Yeah. So they see this woman who was exploited and who didn't know any better, who didn't know what was happening. And it's in the knowing and the awareness that I am now safe. So they know that they need to be aware and knowing. So it's, you know, silence doesn't save you. It's as uncomfortable as it is. Obviously, you know, my kids, that you have to be careful about what and when. But as young teenagers, they are, oh my God, they are incredibly powerful. Compared to me, they are so sad. I literally said to my 12-year-old, she was about to start working on Dumbo and I wasn't going to be around because I was shooting Westworld and I couldn't stand that. And I was, you know, saying to her about, you know, just if anyone puts you in a situation where you feel uncomfortable and, you know, always make sure that, you know, just these things that you can imagine I would be talking her through. And she's like, Mum, can you just stop there? And she goes, I'm way cooler than you when you were my age. Really? Yeah. And it's true. But it's because I would be very open and upfront about things that have happened in my life. And it hasn't scarred them to know these things. Because, well, for the damage that it has done, let's say, because I think it is heartbreaking for a child to know that someone that they love, someone that they look up to was hurt, was wounded. The damage that it has done has prevented damage in the future. That I do know. So it's like the immunity shots that you give your kid when they're babies, but then they're protected from all kinds of, you know, illnesses. That's my take on it anyway. And I didn't know if I was doing the right thing by doing that, but I look at them now. You know, I've got 2 daughters and a little boy who's 4, but my girls are 18 and 13, and they are. Well, to give you an example, my 18-year-old, when she was 15 years old, she was at a theatre. I wasn't there. My husband and I weren't there. She was there with a friend of ours. And a couple of days after the show, my friend said, "Oh, Ripley went over and spoke to Boris Johnson just before the show started. What did she say?" And Boris Johnson is one of the architects of Brexit and could very well be the next Prime Minister. Okay.
Former Mayor of London too.
Yeah, he's an idiot, and a dangerous one. So I said to Ripley, she got home from school that afternoon. I was like, Rip, did you go and talk to Boris Johnson when you were at the Cursed Child? It's the Harry Potter thing. Sure. And she said, yeah. I said, so you didn't mention it? She goes, no. I said, well, what did you say? And she's like, what, you want to know exactly what I said to Boris Johnson? I was like, yeah. What did you say? She said, well, I said, Mr. Johnson, my name's Ripley Parker, and I just needed to tell you that you're a...
Oh, my.
Yeah. Right. And it was 2 days after Brexit had been announced. And she had the fire in her belly. So as soon as she saw this dude, she's like, I need to go and talk to him. And what I love about it is that she didn't think that was newsworthy to get home and tell us. You won't believe what I did, Mum. No. Because it was necessary, and it wasn't about what she could brag or put on Instagram or Twitter. It was about doing something in that moment that was going to be valuable and have integrity behind it. It was something that she needed to do, and it wasn't so that she could be famous or people would think she's cool. That's my kid, man. Like, she's got it in her spleen, and I know I'm something to do with that. And I know that it's partly because I have said things. I have offered her a different way of behaving, which is to be upfront and to be uncompromising when it comes to justice for myself and other people who are not protected in our world, you know, who are voiceless, who are afraid. I'm an actress. I've got, you know, I'm an actress. I'm successful. I have friends in high places, and you know, things have happened to me. What about people who, you know, in low income, in jobs where they're being harassed all the time? If you look at restaurant workers, you look at, you know, people who pick our fruit and vegetables. What about those people? You know, who's gonna give a shit about them? So I just think my kids they've got a head start, and I'm really proud of that.
I can tell. It's been nice to talk to you.
Nice to
Thank
talk
you
to
so much.
too.
I really, really appreciate it.